us with more details on this. Ashraf, over 40
for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term. We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will. Jen.
Was there a framework on anything? And also, did the Iranian frozen assets come up? And did you reach any conclusions on those frozen assets?
We talked about all those issues, Jen, and we talked about a number of issues beyond that. And so certainly those things came up. But again, we just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible. We were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway. Preston.
Mr. Vice President, how often did you communicate with President Trump throughout the negotiations? There were reports that there were multiple rounds where there were breaks in between negotiations. How often did you communicate with the president throughout those rounds, and what was he saying as you were going through these negotiations that you said fell short?
Yeah, obviously we were talking to the president consistently. I don't know how many times we talked to him, a half dozen times, a dozen times over the past 21 hours. We obviously also talked to Admiral Cooper, to Pete, to Marco, to the entire national security team. We talked to Scott Bessent a number of times. So look, we were constantly in communication with the team because we were negotiating in good faith. And we leave here with a very simple proposal, a method of understanding that is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President, where does this leave the Strait of Hormuz?
Did you going back to war,
Prime Minister Netanyahu at all today?
What about the Strait of Hormuz?
All right, so that's the big breaking news that's coming in. That was JD Vance.
Can you hear me? There we go. Jesus Christ. I don't know what was. All right. Finally. Jesus H. Christ. Good morning. Now that you guys can hear me. I didn't even notice that. I was running my mouth and nobody could hear a damn thing. So, what I was saying is, oil is creeping its way back up. Yeah, there we go. Jesus Christ. There we go. And restart my computer and then everything goes back to default for some reason. No settings saved. Ridiculous. Anyway. So yeah, good morning. Good morning. So what we're talking about so far, Bitcoin coming down to the 74 area. Who knows what's going to happen with that? There's a lot of news about the Clarity Act. We'll check on that in a little while. Oil's creeping its way back up, and it's dragging the petrodollar up. Now, I've got a question for anybody and everybody. It's no secret that the American dollar is no longer backed by gold or silver, right? So my question to you is, what is the dollar currently backed by? Comment your guess, or if you know. It's not backed by much. But why is it going up, do you think? Aside from the obvious oil kicking it in and the petrodollar, all right? We know about the petrodollar. But the dollar itself, what gives it value these days? Because as you can see, as the dollar goes up, gold and silver come down, which I've always referred to gold and silver, the gold and silver price, not the value, excuse me. I've always referred to these prices as a measure of what the dollar is doing. When you see gold and silver going up, you're typically watching the value of the dollar go down because gold and silver maintain their buying power, right? 2,000 years ago, an ounce of silver would buy you approximately the same thing it'll buy you today. Things are more expensive, so there needs to be more price to the silver in order to buy the things that are more expensive, right? Makes sense? So my question is, what is the dollar currently backed by? While we think about that, let's go over to
structure targets across the Gulf states. But the one key thing, and they have done this before, they close the Strait of Hormuz for the economic impact.
Oh,
so that kind of,
you know what I find hilarious is somebody from the UN put a statement out yesterday saying that what the United States is doing, blockading the strait, is illegal. Right. Right. Finally! Shit! Jesus. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what that was all about, but this damn internet connection, I think, is what it was. But yeah, I just had some kind of update and restarted and everything's being retarded. Anyway, welcome back. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. How's everybody doing today? What's on everybody's mind? What's important in the news? Oh, it's a lot of BS in the news. The same things going on as it was yesterday. Iran, blockade, morons. I was trying to, before I was so rudely interrupted, I was trying to show you guys this jackass from the UN security chief, slams Trump. No country has the right to close the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah? Where were you when Iran was doing it, you hypocrite? Jackass, sit your ass down. I'm just scrolling through just to give myself a couple of laughs before we get into anything. Now, everybody know who Bob Lazar is. This guy, if you don't know who Bob Lazar was, or is, excuse me, he, in 1988 or 89, he was the first guy to come forward from Area 51. And since he has described his job there and made some shocking allegations of what went on there, he has since been, people have tried to debunk him left and right, and they continuously fail. In fact, almost 40 years later, or is that? Yeah, it's almost 40 years later, or 50, yeah, almost 40 years later. He has nothing but vindication has crossed into this story. He has been, he talked about a fuel source for these UFOs that was claiming to use element 115, which didn't exist on our periodic table at the time. But since he said that, it has been added to the periodic table because somebody made some in a lab, and it was one of those elements that they've only managed to get to exist for, nanoseconds before it decays. So what he claims they've been using in Area 51 was an isotope, which is a different amount of, protons and or neutrons. I'm no expert. Anyway, Bob Lazar has never been proven wrong. They've constantly tried to, but they've never successfully proved him wrong.
Not sure you can have anti-gravity. Look, if it was gravity, at this point, I don't even think it's gravity.
What do you think?
I think this is another completely unique force. It doesn't behave enough like gravity.
And explain why it's so different.
Because at least
he's talking about the anti-gravity that he was working on. It was a seized ship that somebody got from an alien craft, supposedly, and he was brought in to try and help reverse engineer it. And he's talking about the power source created what he's now saying it couldn't be possibly be anti-gravity. Whatever it was a force that prevented him from touching the little machine that was making it.
my thoughts at this point are, I think gravity is just a property of matter, and it's only an attractive force. I'm not sure you can have anti-gravity. Look, if it was gravity, at one point, Barry showed me he had one of the emitters working.
It was one of this supposed anti-gravity emitters.
He put a lit little kitchen candle right at the focal point, and he powered up the reactor, and the flame stopped flickering. It stood there frozen in space and time, but I could see the light from the candle. The flame was still visible. Also, he removed the candle and then rotated the emitter. I don't know if it was another direction or more the same way, but it made a little black ball in the air where no light was escaping, looking like a little black hole. But no, you could just tell there was no light at the focal point right in the air. It was just a dark area. So there it's affecting light, but it wasn't in the candle test before that. So it's a really unusual thing.
That's pretty wild. What do you think? I think I'm fascinated by
at one point Barry showed me
everything Bob Lazar has said has been he's never been proven wrong. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, that was a nice little diversion. Check it out, new species of fish in the Gulf of America. Hi, kitty. Hi, kitty, kitty. My kitty wants to come see me. All right, well, let's get back to the news and money. Apparently, Somebody was watching it, didn't dig Bob Lazar. Hello, kitty, kitty, hello. Look at my little kitty, came to see me. Hello, kitty, meow. Ooh, kitty, kitty, kitty. Let's watch some news, kitty. Meow. What are these jerks talking about over here?
Elected officials, and for the most part, the majority are good people, decent people that have, to some extent,
is that a new Pete Hegseth video? I'm not so sure. We'll find out.
They struck our embassies with car bombs and attacked from the shadows, never daring to face us toe to toe. They thought they could bleed America with impunity. Well, they just learned the hard way what happens when you try to fight us directly. And even when they got lucky, one time in 40 days, and down 2 of our pilots, they couldn't hold them. In a daring 14-hour rescue operation, 7 hours in daylight and 7 hours of night, both pilots were recovered safely. Not once, but twice. A daylight thunder run right up the middle of their country. Boots on the ground. A midnight raid right up the middle of their country. Boots on the ground.
This is not new.
0 American casualties. The Iranians humiliated and demoralized. We control their fate, not the other way around. That's why they came to the table.
More objects have landed around the world.
That was not new, so I'm going back to what is new. Which they're in commercial. Oh shit. I don't think you want to watch my friggin' cat who's in my lap and not leaving me alone. She's a good kitty.
Yeah, Bill, to what you're referring to, on both sides of the country, the Manhattan DA's office here in New York and also the LA County Sheriff's Office have opened probes into some of these allegations against Swalwell.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I don't care.
As they should, but Bill,
I don't
again,
care about this. God, they eat up some news with some BS, dude. Like, who cares? Do something then. Put them in jail or don't. I just don't care. I don't care to hear about it 1,000 times an hour, Cool. Announce it. That's great. It's in the news. Now get the fuck on.
Contained the Strait of Hormuz, the nuclear rights, and that is what was also a sticking point between the two sides. There was no common framework that was reached in these talks. Iran has signaled stalemate in the negotiations. The Strait of Hormuz is among the major flashpoints. The nuclear dispute also remains unresolved, and the diplomatic breakthrough fails to materialize. The stakes are high in the ongoing US-Iran talks, and all eyes now remain on what happens next. The Iran-US negotiations have ended. Two sides have not reached an agreement, and Iran says that US made excessive demands, and that is what hindered a common framework and also agreement. But if we talk about the United States is clearly mentioning that it was flexible and it put forward the best deal, the final and the best deal on the table, but it was not accepted by Iran. In fact, Iranian media are saying that various issues, including the Strait of Hormuz and nuclear rights, have been among the points of contention in the Iran-US talks. Rohit, my colleague, continues to stay with us. So, Rohit, if you...
Yeah. Thing about that is there's a lot of speculation going on about what was offered in these talks, right? What demands were made by who. As you probably all know, the Iranian demands were just ridiculous, right? They want something crazy in the hundreds of billions of dollars that they've demanded from all neighboring countries as well, to the tune of something like $300 billion in reparations to pay for the damages they've incurred from the war. Go fuck yourself, right? So those were one of the ridiculous demands, whatever the amount they were asking for from America. It wasn't the whole thing, but you get what I'm saying. And then apparently they didn't want to give up their right to nuclear or uranium proliferation. There was a rumor that they agreed to stop enriching uranium for 5 years, and then it was rumored that the United States was demanding they stop doing it for 20 years. None of that was true. Aside from they might have actually agreed to the 5 years, but that wasn't good enough for Trump. Neither was the 20 years. That rumor has been debunked. So if you've heard that somewhere, get it out of your head because it ain't true. There's so much bullshit, especially if you look at social media. You got to be really careful. Don't believe a damn thing you see on social media. You know, as a general rule, do your homework, of course, but don't just pick up headlines and run with it. That is probably the most intellectually devoid thing you could do is just take a headline and run with it. Just don't. You know, if you want to believe it, look into it. But don't just take it at their words because there's so much propaganda coming out of Iran and America. You know, everybody wants Trump to fail. Everybody on the left, at least. So, you know, every time there's any shred of news that has anything to do with Trump looking bad, you can bet the media is going to jump on it. The daytime talk show hosts and the nighttime talk show hosts. And yet, none of them know what they're talking about. And plus, their job isn't to be informed anyway. Their job is just to make you laugh.
A guy by the name of Al Franken, who we canceled, resigned because he inappropriately kissed somebody, right? Which is still a whole question. So,
okay, they're probably talking about that nonsense that I just don't care about. I mean, if you want me to bring it up and talk about it, we can. But you know, you might want to comment.
The research for Alzheimer research.
Created in 1941 by Pablo Picasso.
That's nice and all, but I don't care about that either. Okay, I guess we'll put back the Indian news, and I'm going to go find some more stuff.
But the US won't even agree to their demands. And, you know, it is funny, and I'm not sure how many people have talked about it, and I was looking at those images coming out of Pakistan. It was a Pakistani nuclear scientist, A.Q. Khan, who actually, you know, shared technology of building weapons with the Iranians. And it is kind of quite ironic that we're seeing these images from Islamabad, Pakistan, where a US vice president has gone to negotiate with the Iranians to pursue them not to build those same nuclear weapons. I mean, so life's come full circle, I think, you know, in this way. And like, President Donald Trump is not going to hold back. He will let us know what his plans are. He is going to announce something on Truth Social. We'll have to wait and watch what it does. But things are not looking that great. Because, as I said, you know, my sources just told me that the Iranians were not flexible. And that's the first rule of any negotiations when you get into high-stakes talks such as this. Anjali.
And Rohit, are back-channel talks still possible despite the public announcement that these peace talks have collapsed?
The back-channel talks, absolutely. Anjali, they will. I mean, I'm pretty sure they will. You know, he did not... Vice President Vance said the ball's in their court, meaning that the channel is always open for them to call back and speak to whoever they want to, including, you know, the mediators in this case, that is Pakistan. I'm pretty sure they also have a story to tell. And they should, as I've said before, you know, they owe an answer, you know, to their nation, to the world, as to why these talks have failed and what could the world do to bridge the gap. But yes, I think the back channels will definitely operate, not only through Pakistan, there were other countries too that were, you know, back channeling talks with the US, and we expect to see that.
Right, Roy, do stay with us. So no breakthrough has been achieved in the Islamabad peace talks. Remember, all eyes were on these peace talks. 21 hours of negotiations, but despite
Still
that,
talking
no
about
breakthrough, no agreement that has been...
Yeah, we know. Bloomberg.
CEO, a little bit later this morning. What are the questions for you now, after you've seen these results for this man right there?
Well, the main question, as we were just hearing, really is the outlook for the pipeline, given what is going on with that little thing over in Iran, right? This idea of how much is that really torpedoing people's plans, how quickly people will get back on board, what potentially rates staying at this level does to all of these deals, considering the fact that people had been expecting rates to continue to go down. And then, honestly, one of the key questions has been acquisitions, right? I mean, Morgan Stanley has been an acquirer and a disruptor. How much are they considering exploring the backdrop that seems to be an open door?
By Goldman Sachs.
Exactly.
You know, like, why not? I'm not starting rumors. Don't run with that.
That would be similar, though, to the United American Airlines. You know, that would be a great flex.
Crazy.
Go ahead.
Morgan Stanley, no. I'm not starting anything.
You can.
Stock's up by 2%. Let's get you an update on stories. Ask him on stories elsewhere. Your Bloomberg brief with Yahira. Hey, Yahira.
Hi, John. Taking another look at those Morgan Stanley earnings, shares are rising 2%. The investment bank reporting equity sales and trading revenue for the first quarter well above estimates at $5.1 billion. Fixed sales also topping estimates, along with a beat on net interest income. Lisa will be sitting down with Morgan Stanley CEO Ted Pick exclusively at 10:45 a.m. this morning. The Pentagon reportedly sending thousands of additional troops into the Middle East over the coming days. According to the Washington Post, the reinforcements will include about 6,000 troops via aircraft carrier and over 4,000 Marines that are expected to arrive towards the end of the month. This coming as President Trump is suggesting the war is, quote, close to over.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way,
President
does
Trump
it?
warning Fed Chair Jay Powell that he will be fired should he not leave his position by May 15th. The president's adding that he has no plans on dropping the DOJ probe on Powell and the renovations on the Fed building. That's your Bloomberg Brief. John.
Yahara, thank you.
I don't
Appreciate
think he's
it.
got
Next
the
on
authority
program,
to fire
credit
Jay
concerns.
Powell.
We have this entire ecosystem of private credit that has made it possible, has financed companies that probably would have struggled otherwise. We see it through the rising defaults in the private credit sector. The way this plays out is the way it always plays out. People want liquidity.
In just a moment, we'll catch up with the Schroders Capital CEO, Georg Vanderlip. He joins us next, live from New York City. You're watching Bloomberg TV.
Cut that out. Let's go over to the Asian news, shall we? See what these people are talking about. See how full of it they are, which they're usually on point.
Most critical oil hub, Clark Island. Donald Trump said the U.S. has many options, including taking Clark Island.
30 children have been killed so far in Iran from U.S.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you remember that school that was allegedly attacked by the United States? Yeah, it came out somewhere that was Iran. As I said from the beginning, it was obviously Iran or one of their forces. That's what they do. They hide their weapons in places that they want to see, that they want to frame as, when Israel strikes back, they strike back at the places that were being fired from, which are usually schools and hospitals and, civilian locations that they put their weapons. That's what the Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah, that's what they do. Because of a fucking prophecy. I think I mention that almost every time I'm online, yet people still run their mouth on social media like they got a clue.
Pointing their fingers at each other. The only thing a judge can do is hold an investigation and decide which one of you, which human being thumbed his nose at my order.
Yeah.
That, the appellate court said, resulted in a judicial intrusion into the thinking and working of a co-equal branch, the executive branch, and they stopped him from doing it. He can still hold them in contempt, but I don't know how he's going to decide who to hold in contempt because of each of them pointing the fingers at the other. Now, does Judge Boasberg have an axe to grind? I don't know. He seems to be in the middle of...
Go back over to... Let's see.
Tanya Francis, starting off in Islamabad. Pink Scooty to help women travel across the city safely.
Okay, they're still running their mouth about garbage. Bloomberg still on commercial. All right, propaganda still pumping.
The eastern part of Saudi Arabia to defend Saudi Arabia against who? Well, against Iran. So that's a contradiction because this is where Pakistan has a defense agreement with Saudi Arabia. So will Iran trust Pakistan? Pakistan shares a 1,000-kilometer long border with Iran, which is not the best of relationship that the two have had with each other on those borders. Look, Pakistan entered into this negotiation not in good faith, but a very desperate attempt not to be drawn into this.
All right, I'm pretty sure that was garbage. We are currently looking for some live news from all over the world, right? All right. check out Ion.
Does not prove Cuba officially dispatched all fighters. However, it added that there are significant indicators that the regime knowingly tolerated, enabled, or selectively facilitated the flow. The report comes as the White House has increased its pressure campaign to force a change in leadership in Havana. In fact, on Tuesday, President Trump signaled that once America confrontation with Iran winds down, the focus could shift to Cuba.
Well, we're going to see with Cuba. Cuba's another story. Cuba's been a terribly run country for a long time. It's got a bad system. It's been very oppressive, as you know. And we have a lot of great Cuban Americans, all of whom just about voted for me. And they were treated very badly. In many cases, family members have been killed. They've been beaten up and mugged, and terrible things happened in Cuba. And Cuba's a failing nation. And we're going to do this, and we may stop by Cuba after we're finished with this.
Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel says that the country would defend itself if necessary, but warns that any invasion would carry consequences for Cuba, the U.S., and the wider region. In an exclusive conversation with NBC News, Miguel Canel pitched the path of diplomacy, asking Washington for dialogue without preconditions. This as the Trump administration has built up pressure on Cuba with a fuel blockade from January that has deepened the island's energy and hit its already fragile economy. Cubans have endured regular blackouts, fuel rationing, soaring gasoline prices, dwindling public transport, and a fall in the crucial tourism sector in the past couple of months.
That's true. But we're going to go over here. I found somebody with Fox and Friends.
Thunderstorms this morning producing flash flood warnings across parts of the Midwest. And you can tell just by looking at the map that this is the same spot where we had a lot of action yesterday. The tornado warnings across Iowa, they moved into Wisconsin and northern Illinois. So today we reset everything. Large hailstones as well. I mean, yesterday we had 3 to 3.5 inch chunks of ice. Baseball-sized hail there, folks. And today
we're talking about I don't care
and looking at similar areas from Texas all the way to the northeast, where these afternoon storms.
I don't care. Well, maybe they're going to stop talking about weather.
We got your back.
All right. Thanks so much, Britta. Appreciate it. Great advice. Right now, the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports still well underway and going well. As President Trump confirms, the war against the terror regime could soon be winding down.
You keep saying was. Is this?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country.
Steak.
And we're not finished. But we'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
President's words just now.
Well, I think that the easiest way to describe it is it's been complex, and it seems to be shifting in a direction that to see. It started off with a very kinetic air campaign to achieve the strategic military objectives. I think if you take the reports at face value, we have achieved most of what we set out to from that perspective. We're switching over to a blockade, which is still It's a projection of power, but I think it's working our way towards a diplomatic solution. And somewhere in between that projection of power and the diplomatic solution, I think we're going to find an end.
Do I need special forces to get the 1,000 pounds of uranium out if I decided to do it in hostile territory? If it isn't an agreement, it's an operation. Has anyone been trained to do things like that?
There are definitely units that train specifically for that type of operation. Yes, they would come from the special operations world, but you are going to need a massive operation in addition to just the people that are going to, one, probably have to dig their way to get those materials. You're going to have to be in protective equipment the entire time. But you're going to need an infrastructure, and I would say hundreds, if not thousands of people to descend on that area to safely be able to do that, to package and then remove if those areas still exist.
Plus, you got to wear the equipment. You got to protect yourself when you get to it.
It's the worst.
All right, but you know what's the best? Your book that's out this Tuesday, Drown Proof, came out. 8 life lessons to keep your head above water. It's a motivational guide to success and leadership based on your experience as a Navy SEAL. When did you realize your elite training can help the average American?
I don't care about your
I wish I could say a long time ago, but it was more recent than that. The most common question or conversation I have with people when they hear about my previous careers, they'll say those experiences sound amazing. Those lessons, those tools that they gave you, they sound amazing, but I will never be able to have that experience. And statistically, they're correct because very few people go down the path of the job that I chose. But looking back upon my career, I realized that, we're all suffering in our own way or dealing with our own issues in life.
Oh, we sure are.
And if the tools that I was taught in a 17-year career can survive and thrive in an environment that...
There's a guy in the UN who's making what can only be classified as a fiery speech. I want to hear
hopefully very soon also again in
what
Kiev,
this guy is saying.
And whether it's in Africa or Latin America. And he has a very long experience. I would say the people he knows are alive or dead because he does this type of job since a very long time. What I think is also, at least from my point of view, so special about Jeff is that he's always remained an advisor. He has never tried to enter any political field, to align with any political party, so he has remained independent, and that, of course, adds to his credibility. And I think that's also the reason, at least for me, and maybe many of you will agree, that he has become a spokesman in economics, sustainable development, environment, and of course in politics. And today, Jeff is probably the person in the world to speak up for peace, everywhere for peace, which is all these things combined. And therefore, I'm very happy that you're here, and very proud also that you followed my our invitations. And he will talk about...
we're going to spend all day jerking each other off, or we're going to get to the point, right? I'm going to go over to Bloomberg and see what they're talking about.
Contagion to spread to a broader group of investors just because of sentiment.
Clearly things haven't gone right for the industry over the last few months. With the minute we have left, what should the lessons be of the last few months for the industry?
So I guess, to say it maybe slightly provocatively.
Shut up. I'm getting pissed off at the news this morning. Nobody's talking about anything worthwhile
per charge, so just $3,000 altogether for a man who's shown zero interest in staying out of prison, and a Washington state judicial system that shows little interest in keeping him in prison. And of course, who ends up paying the price? The public.
Yeah.
We're still talking about that sexual harassment stuff, I believe.
Of common interest, where again we're trying to bring countries together to develop the projects, but that fragmentation still is, having very heavy impact on everything what we have today, and we need to understand that this fragmentation is a consequence of our historical legacy. That in Europe we have national defense policies, which is written down into the treaty, and that brings down as an outcome this industrial fragmentation. So in order to overcome, really we need to look how to become politically more united, and that's what I think will be one of the big discussions which we shall face all together, because from another side, what challenge we are facing is, of course, that our transatlantic partners, what they wrote into national defense strategy and what Elbridge Colby was speaking here about NATO 3.0, is asking us to take responsibility on European defense onto our shoulders, which will demand from us really to have much more tight institutional arrangement and much more political cooperation among ourselves.
Thank you very much. Sven Mixer.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Commissioner, thank you very much. And I think we all heard very loud and clear your mild criticism. And I think it is indeed the case that we very often, when confronted with a very urgent matter, such as the Defence Simplification Omnibus, that we all recognize the urgency, then we are ready to cut some corners procedurally in order to save precious seconds and minutes, and then we get stalled for months thereafter. And this is clearly something that we cannot and shouldn't afford. But my question is this, even with all those projects that you described and that we undertake at the European level, the bulk of the resources will continue to have to come from the national defense budgets. And we have taken very ambitious commitments, or the governments have. But we have done this before, and very often we have let them slide thereafter. So my question is, in the light of these recent developments, in light of the shakiness of the transatlantic relationship at the moment, and all these economic challenges that have been compounded by this US and Israeli war on Iran and the emanating blockade of the Straits, do you see the national governments holding firm in their commitment to actually reach to the level of defense spending that would allow us to realize all those ambitious goals and commitments? Thank you.
Well, I think that, definitely with all the recent developments, perhaps what Madam Chair was saying at the very beginning, all of us will feel that, situation around Europe is becoming more tense.
Use this microphone.
Ah, okay. Microphone, yes. Good. So the situation is becoming more tense. Now it's not only in the northeastern part of Europe, in Central Europe, but also in the south, and that is definitely why I see much more of understanding that we need to invest into our defense. And if you will look into opinion polls, for example, recently published by Politico, you will see how much European citizens want Europe to become stronger in defense, and how much they prefer European defense instead of any kind of other, possibilities of defense. So that's one thing. Second, definitely we shall face different issues, including, issue of possibility to spend the money and to procure weapons, which we need to have in order to develop our capabilities, because till now we were procuring 40% of our weapons from the United States. While talking back in Washington, D.C., and here I was talking with Grinkiewicz, which I would suggest to invite to the committee, situation now is very clear. During this war in Iran, Americans spent 2 sets of their stockpiles of missiles and interceptors, and for next 4 or 5 years, what they will produce, they will use for the army. So the question for us, we were buying 40%. Now it means that we need to find a way how to replace. That is why our production needs to increase much more rapidly than it was increasing till now. And that is what, is the concern for all the ministers. And ministers really are very much concerned that the prices for the same weapons, because production is, increasing too slow if to compare with how rapidly money is increasing. The prices are increasing very rapidly, and ministers, I will not use the words which sometimes they say to me, in a rough language, I would say, how they, evaluate the situation.
Thank you very much. The next will be Pierre Romain from Patriots.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Monsieur le Commissaire, je m'exprimerai en français. Je patiente. Merci Monsieur le Commissaire. Et ma question va faire référence justement aux derniers éléments que vous venez d'évoquer sur l'enjeu des munitions et des missiles, puisque vous avez commencé une tournée des missiles à travers l'Europe, afin de faire un point justement sur l'état des capacités de production européennes. Vous devez d'ailleurs vous rendre en France prochainement. Ma première question sera donc de vous demander si vous pouvez nous faire un point peut-être d'étape sur les premiers rendez-vous et déplacements que vous avez faits à ce sujet en Europe, et quelles sont vos attentes sur ce domaine. L'enjeu de la production de missiles et de capacités antiaériennes est crucial pour la défense de l'Europe, et particulièrement mis en lumière, vous l'avez fait, avec la situation au Moyen-Orient, avec l'enjeu de délai de production et surtout de livraison des Américains à l'égard de l'Europe. D'autant plus que notre continent, nos pays, ne font plus figure de priorité dans la carte géostratégique américaine. Jusqu'à présent, dans nos discussions et dans nos travaux, la logique de l'urgence a prévalu sur celle de l'autonomie, notamment sur le secteur des munitions et des missiles, puisque dans le cadre des DIP, nous avons accordé des dérogations précisément sur ces deux enjeux en matière de préférence européenne. Donc ma question sera donc, au vu de la situation actuelle et des nouveaux enjeux qui se sont posés depuis nos travaux précédents, envisagez-vous ou estimez-vous nécessaire de durcir ces critères de préférence européenne dans les prochaines négociations, notamment pour le prochain MFF? Faudra-t-il abandonner ces dérogations qui ont été accordées au secteur des missiles et des munitions en termes de préférence européenne? Comment voyez-vous l'évolution des enjeux d'autonomie européenne sur ces deux secteurs? Merci, Monsieur le Commissaire.
Well, thanks a lot for a very good question. By the way, immediately in 1 hour I am taking the train to go to France. Tomorrow we shall visit several very important missile producers in France. Now I can just tell you my impression, where we are and what are, what still are remaining the issues which we need to resolve. We decided to go for missile tour when we got the responsibility to prepare Ukrainian support loan, 60 billion, our services. And we were doing a lot, despite the fact that veto was, political obstacle. From Ukrainians, we got very clear message what is their priority. Now, 3 priorities: 7 million drones, extended range 155 ammunition, and then, of course, missiles.
All right, so we've been listening in here to the EU Parliament Security and Defence Committee meeting, one of the several live events that we have to bring to you here today on Live Now from Fox. Thank you so much for joining us on your Wednesday. My name is Christy Matino. We're going to step away for a quick commercial break. On the other side, a live discussion on Iran as you are taking a live look there at a simulation of the Strait of Hormuz this morning. More on that after this.
Oh, Jesus Christ. With the commercials already. How's everybody doing? Oh, me? I'm okay. Just a little stressed. Don't mind me. I might be a little off today. I am stressed out.
Yet heard of the dates for the upcoming negotiations, and we know that Secretary Rubio did say that this process is likely to take some time because of the decades of history and complexities. But it does appear that all sides appear now that the priority really is to disarm Hezbollah.
All right, Jody Cohen there live for us in Tel Aviv. Jody, good to see you. Great reporting, as always.
Disarm. You need to do destroy.
Well, the clock is ticking to midnight tonight when those state and federal taxes are officially due. Numbers show a lot of Americans wait until the 11th hour to sign and return. I know I did.
Yeah, you know what?
I literally signed mine last
One
month.
of the reasons I'm stressed is my tax refund. I filed it near the end of January, and they said, oh, it'll be about 3 weeks, right? And I needed a place to stay. I'm working to get my own place with that money. And I contacted a friend of mine who I'm staying with currently and was like, hey, can I crash at your place for a couple weeks while I wait on the IRS? It has now been 11 weeks. I finally got through to somebody at the IRS, which was, Jesus, that was difficult to finally get a hold of somebody who could tell me something. And they said, oh, we're sorry. It was an error on our part. And the last time we updated our system, March 8th was the last time they updated anything. From that date, 4 to 8 more weeks. So at the most, they're saying by May 6th. And my birthday is the 25th of this month. So I'm probably not going to be at it. The person I'm staying with is breathing down my neck. Well, she's not breathing down my neck. She's been really cool, but, you know, I've stayed here for way longer than I was supposed to. It's going on 3 friggin' months now, and she is probably sick of me being here. Rightfully so, I might add. But I can't do shit. I don't even have gas in my car. So, hello, IRS, help! So yeah, a mistake on their part. They did confess. Bastards.
Refund.
So I'm just kind of stuck here in limbo, doing all I can on YouTube, trying to make some money, but that's a joke.
Is in the big beautiful bill. We
And
see
Rumble.
an additional $6,000 tax deduction for seniors, a $25,000 deduction for qualified tips, and a $12,500 deduction for qualified overtime payers, along with other deductions. Now, this is going to be probably the highest refund on average that Americans have gotten in a while, but it's likely that for the next tax year, 2026, employers will withhold more, so don't expect that this refund is going to continue every year, sadly.
There's also some new tax laws going to be implemented for next year regarding crypto. I made a video on this a few months back, explaining all of it. It's actually pretty simple. They changed a lot of the rules.
Now, President Trump saying that this war could be coming to a close shortly here. I want to play out this soundbite from Fox Business.
I had to divert, because if I didn't do that, right now you would have Iran with a nuclear weapon. And if they had a nuclear weapon, you would be calling everybody over there, sir. And you don't want to do that.
Well, you keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
Very badly, very badly.
That was a post there from President
Shit.
Trump. My producer
I'm ready to make a
just
deal.
flagging for me here.
Let's
This is a new
go
Truth
already.
Social that the White House just shared from President Trump, saying China is very happy that I am permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz.
What?
I'm doing it for them also and the world. This situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. All right, joining us now is Jonathan Saeed with the Foundation for Defense
China.
of Democracies. Thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to break this all down for us.
Hi, Christy. It's great to be with you again.
Let's just start with this news that just came out from the White House, that post there from President Trump speaking on the Strait of Hormuz. What's your initial reaction to that?
Well, it's no surprise that ultimately China wants the goods to the supply chain to still flow through the strait. Even though when we talk about the strait being closed or open, we should not be looking at it in black and white terms. This is something that Tehran was dictating as to who gets to pass, and Chinese vessels were allowed to cross. But that said, that doesn't mean the supply chain as a whole.
You know what's funny? Is the UN security chief, if you're just now joining us, UN security chief announced that no country has a right to close the Strait of Hormuz. And he was directing that at Trump, like, hello, you realize somebody else closed it before we did. Sit your ass down, you hypocrite.
To be sanctions or this naval blockade is persistent. If the idea is for us to somehow build leverage, then it's going to take time. So that's going to be a bit challenging to want to end the war really soon, but at the same time be tapping into tools that are really for a long-term strategy. But we have to wait and see whether the administration is simply trying to build leverage for talks, or they're just using this blockade to deprive the regime of cash flow to maybe tap into something internal.
Yeah, that would
want to,
seem right.
Deprive the repression apparatus and the military establishment from a salary so they can get some internal fractures. We have to wait and see.
Yep, that's what all the news is saying. We've got to hurry up and wait. As we're waiting, looks like silver is taking a little bit of jump up, but the dollar is currently climbing, so I don't expect that to last. You know, I mean, when the dollar goes up, silver and gold are going to go down, and vice versa. Oil is climbing up a little bit as well. All the futures are going up. I would say right now might be a decent time to grab you a play. Not financial advice, right? And the heat map is looking fairly good today. It's looking average, really, but there's a lot of green, there's a lot of sideways. Some of the bigger players got some red. For the first time, I'm seeing red in multiple sectors. It's been, as long as energy and oil are going up, everything else was looking red or flat. And vice versa. When everything else was looking green, oil was looking red. But now we're seeing a little bit of everything. That's a sign to me that markets are just stabilizing and kind of just sitting here waiting to see what's going to happen with the war. That's what everything is waiting on. Everybody's sitting here on bated breath, waiting for something to occur, which is why I keep bouncing around between the news. I'm going to go over here to this Indian news source and see what kind of... Nope, that's not Indian on there currently.
It sits empty most of the year. You can afford to contribute like every other New Yorker.
God forbid your house sit empty after you buy it.
But by the way, Lawrence, you are paying taxes, right? You might have taken a loan from a New York bank.
Right.
I'm going to go over to Schwab, see what they can tell us in the money area, in the money department. Nothing, because they're on commercial. Seems like everybody goes on commercial at the same time, don't they?
What are you doing?
Now,
tweak us all.
shots fired.
How dare you, with that last name as well.
I'm half Irish.
Up next, we're not doing that. The morning calls, plus Max Layton of Citi with oil rising on mixed messaging out of the Middle East. That conversation and not football from New York City this morning. Good morning.
Are waiting to see if the diplomacy with Iran is real and that oil prices can stay contained.
I'm getting so frustrated. Jesus Christ. The IRS has had my tax refund now for 11 weeks. It's driving me crazy. I can't do anything. Like, I'm literally about to be sleeping in my car. And then just a few days, probably. As soon as the person I'm staying with finds out that it might be another 3 or 4 weeks before I get my money, and I was only supposed to be here for about 2 or 3 weeks, and it's been 3 months. So I don't blame her at all. I'm just extraordinarily worried.
And gas does drive inflation and other things because trains, planes, and automobiles need to get all this stuff around. So there is, a collateral effect. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, I think, if we can find a way to peace, humanity will be better off for it. And I don't think it's going to be a global recession just because of a war, and hopefully the war ends. But, it's certainly hitting us here in America in the pocketbook right now.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Julia, what about you with the war here? There's a naval blockade against these Iranian ports by U.S. military vessels. Really, the Strait of Hormuz is still effectively closed here. So is that all going to slow growth in the second, third, fourth quarter here, do you think, this year?
Well, it could potentially, and the IMF is warning if this is a prolonged conflict, we could see perhaps a global recession. But we do see this in the immediate term in countries that are heavy with energy imports, emerging markets, and low-income countries. The UK, for example, has been hit very hard by this, and quite a few countries in Asia. So we see concentrated pockets that are hit the hardest. What the IMF is warning is that if we see this prolonged into, third, fourth quarter of the year, this could potentially have a big impact. I love John's optimism and want to share absolutely, but it's important that this wraps up in order for energy prices to come down and to have that price alleviation around the world.
All right, John Tobacco, Julia Cartwright, great conversation there. Good to see you both.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Coming up, foreign affairs correspondent Alex Salvi joins us live from Washington.
Yeah, Kershaw, Andrew, President Trump says that Iran wants to make a deal, but he's still standing by his maximalist demands. We'll tell you his latest efforts to bring a long-standing peace to the Middle East right after the break.
David George of Baird weighing in on the bank earnings this morning. We heard from Morgan Stanley and from Bank of America. Those numbers better than good. Equity futures just about unchanged on the S&P 500 following a stellar rally in this equity market.
I usually have more to say, and I apologize. I appreciate you watching. I apologize. I don't have more to say. I'm very stressed out at the moment. I'm trying to take my mind off of things, but not really helping.
Been very resilient through the last month. We've heard it repeatedly. over the last week.
And they go on to say that just because oil prices are high doesn't mean that they're going to stop spending, because ultimately, as Jamie Dimon came out and said, it really depends on the labor market. And the labor market is strong. Until you see unemployment really creep higher, you're going to see this ongoing resilience that can continue to power the U.S. economy.
Futures just about unchanged on the S&P. That's the price action. Let's get you some morning calls. First up, Piper Sandler lowering its price target on Wells Fargo, the firm cutting its EPS estimate for this year and for next. Your second call from Barclays raising its price target on Citi, saying earnings are proof of a strong start to the year. And finally, Goldman lowering its price target on JP Morgan, noting increased competition and market volatility. That name is up in the pre-market by 0.4%. That's the bank earnings. Let's turn to energy. Crude rising as Iran pushes back on the US blockade of Hormuz, warning if it continues, it will violate the terms of the ceasefire. Max Layton of Citi writing, in a scenario of lasting disruption of the strait without major escalation, we could see oil prices relatively stable at higher levels with lower realized volatility. Max joins us now for more. Max, welcome back to the show, sir, and thanks for making time for us. I know you're looking at a range of scenarios. I believe there's 3. So could you detail the 3 and just tell me which one you think is most likely and why?
Sure. Yeah, so I think because this problem is so big, the baseline view that we've taken, that I think the equity markets certainly seems to be taken, is that this is so big it has to be solved, either militarily or diplomatically. And we had kind of penciled in around now and over the next couple of weeks, so second half of April, as a time where that was our baseline view, that's when it's going to happen. And look, it's still possible. Still possible. We put a 50% indicative probability on that scenario. In that scenario, we still think the baseline view that we still think it gets worse before it gets better. The two sides, or at least on nuclear, are pretty far apart. And, there's also talk about Iran saying how much, I've seen numbers out there of up to $270 billion of damages that they want. And look, they want a kind of reparations for. So I would say that things look pretty far apart. A lot can happen within a couple of weeks. I mean, a couple of weeks is a very long time. But in any case, we see the price kind of grinding up over the next couple of that. It involves mutual energy infrastructure destruction. And I actually think that mutual energy infrastructure destruction is much less likely now. I think the bull case is really about the Strait of Hormuz flow.
That 6 ships were turned around and none made it through over the past 24 hours. As Iran faces the economic pressure, Vice President Vance explains that the U.S. is prepared to offer them a lifeline in the form of economic prosperity.
What the president wants to make, he doesn't want to make like a small deal. He wants to make the grand bargain. He said that if you're willing to act like a normal country, we are willing to treat you economically like a normal country.
Now, President Trump said in an interview last night that the war was very close to being over. But even if the military action stops, of course, it could always pick back up. That is, of course, assuming that Iran does not come to the table to negotiate in good faith.
It's not going to stop. Iran is not going to stop with their strikes against Israel and their funding of the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas. They're not going to stop. If we don't completely obliterate them and wipe them off the map, they're just going to continue on with their dumbass prophecy like they have for the last 1,000 years. They need to be wiped off the map permanently.
Saying I wrote him a letter asking him not to do that. He wrote me a letter saying essentially he's not doing that. Does China have a role in extending the ceasefire going forward? Do we know that?
Well, I'll start with your first point. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says that no matter what Russia or China are providing to the Iranians, it is not having an effect on them militarily. And I think we could look at the success of the U.S. operation so far and say that it is kind of moving along uninterfered by outside actors. Of course, we're in this ceasefire right now, and President Trump posting on Truth Social just a few moments ago saying that China is very thankful for the action that he's taking in the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, many analysts believe that a lot of the criticisms that President Trump has voiced in his his Truth Social posts, although sometimes ambiguous or vague, are directed at China because ultimately they are the ones that could have a large role in opening up the Strait of Hormuz, not only because of their support for Iran, but they could apply that diplomatic pressure as well, acknowledging the fact that China receives a lot more oil from the Middle East, a lot more liquefied natural gas that comes through the Strait of Hormuz, not to mention fertilizer and other products as well. The United States is very much so independent on those fronts. In fact, now it's seeing itself as an exporter when it comes to those energies. So President Trump knows that he does have a card to play here, and that is withholding some of these supplies, some of these energy resources from China and forcing them to enter these negotiations, if not just putting pressure on Iran to capitulate essentially to America's demands.
Yeah, and Alex, you know, of course, the war with Iran scuttled that summit that the president was going to have with Xi Jinping there of China. So we'll just have to wait and see if that's rescheduled.
Definitely. So many great points. Thank you so much, Alex Salvi, for that report. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, the ripple effect, the U.S. blockade at the Strait of Hormuz now affecting countries who use the route.
This as another round of peace talks are apparently on the table. We're live from Islamabad after the break. Stay with First Edition. We'll be right back.
I've got Indian news. Let's go ahead and put that on. Give me 1 second. I really want to hear what they're talking about in India. Is that racist? I think that's racist. They're in commercial. Nope, never mind. They're not. Bitch. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place today. I'm not happy. Right. Let's see.
Emerge as the clear winner from American involvement in conflict. Today, possibly China and Russia, because Russia also has in some ways benefited particularly from oil exports in a very, very large measure in the last month. Yes, that's only in the energy revenue domain. I'm talking of the larger geopolitical beneficiary. Right.
Good morning, everybody.
China. Today, with the U.S. deeply entangled in Middle Eastern conflict, yet again, China has gained greater space for its expansion.
How is everybody doing today? How am I, you ask? Well, yeah, I've been better. I'm in limbo, guys. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. I'm probably going to be sleeping in my car here in a few days. Who I'm staying with was only signed up for me to be here for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm going on 3 months. So I don't blame her. I blame the IRS. My tax refund is in limbo, and the best they could tell me is it'll be there by May 6th. I'm like, I don't have till May 6th, but what are you gonna do?
Overland pipelines from Russia and Central Asia, India, Japan, and South Korea remain structurally exposed. None of them can import energy via overland pipelines. In other words, India, Japan, and South Korea have no viable alternative to vulnerable sea lanes. And even in terms of Trump's imposition of a blockade on Iran, right? The key question is this: will the U.S. military dare to stop Chinese-flagged tankers?
No,
that
we won't.
So
We've already let some
in
through.
30 seconds, do you believe, therefore, just like Pakistan has pushed itself into the room in a way, into the negotiating table, that China is playing a more proactive role now? India will also have to play some role in the coming weeks. A quick answer. Well, first, Pakistan played whatever role it played because Washington leaned on Islamabad to host the U.S.-Iran talks, the highest level talks between U.S. and Iran in half a century.
These people aren't telling us anything
opening
new.
the Strait of Hormuz. I'm doing it for them also and the world. This situation will never happen again. They've agreed not to send weapons to Iran. President Xi will give me a big fat hug when I get there in a few weeks. We are working together smartly and very well. Doesn't that beat fighting? But remember, we are very good at fighting. if we have to, far
A
better
big
than anyone
fat
else.
hug,
Now,
huh?
this coming after President Trump spoke to Fox Business just last night, as he says the Iran war is, quote, very close to over. We shared that soundbite here with you just a short time ago. Now, I also wanted to bring you this. This is a live look out of Tel Aviv this morning. In just a matter of moments here, we are expecting to get the Israeli government briefing from Shosh Bedrosian. She is the spokesperson there, and that is slated for 8:30 a.m. Eastern time in just about 3 minutes time. So what we're going to do is just pause here for a quick second because the live event we were going to take you out to has just gone out. So I am going to play that quick soundbite here from President Trump as he spoke to Maria Bartiromo as we await this press briefing.
I had to divert because if I didn't do that, right now you would have Iran with a nuclear weapon.
Yes, we done heard this 1,000 times, baby. Where's everybody from? Comment your location in the comments below. I would love to chat with you and hear what you've got to say. What are your opinions on the war? What's the stock ticker symbol you'd like me to pull up and check out? I mean, obviously we're in pre-market. There's not much going on for me to look at, but we can talk about it. So comment something. Give me something. Throw me a bone, baby. Oil looks like it's wanting to come up, but it didn't like where it was up here. Came back down. It's dragging the dollar around with it, of course. That is CFDs. That's Brent, and that's the nano crude oil. These are the ones I typically trade when I've got money to trade, which I currently don't, but me and my kitty are going to be sleeping in the car. Shit! Fuck! So, yeah, I appreciate you watching, but I might not be here very long. I've got a couple of days at most. So, Bitcoin. I'm almost in a state of panic. You're going to have to forgive me for not being my normal self on stream today. I'm not... Yeah, I'm close to freaking out, and everything I'm doing right now is in an attempt to quell that and try and level my head off. But I guess watching the news probably isn't good for that, huh?
That the United States and Iran gave an in-principle
What are you gonna do?
Extend the 2-week ceasefire.
Like, I almost kind of wish that Iran would drop a nuke on America just to change the dynamic I'm working with, you know? It's so selfish of me, isn't it? I'm kidding, of course, but, you know, when you get in these situations, it's...
Compensation for Iran's wartime damages. Now, we do have, once again, this simulation here of the Strait of Hormuz this morning. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says it is highly probable that talks will restart, citing a meeting he had with Pakistan's foreign minister. Now, the office of the Pakistan's prime minister said he would travel to Saudi Arabia today as his country is pushing to mediate new talks. We also saw oil prices fall in hopes of an end to this fighting. And in the U.S., stocks surged close to records set in January. Meanwhile, in Washington, the first direct talks in decades between the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors to the U.S. concluded on a productive note on Tuesday. That's all according to the U.S. State Department. An initial round of talks held last weekend in Pakistan aimed at permanently ending the U.S.-Iran conflict failed to produce an agreement. The White House said Iran's nuclear ambitions were a central sticking point. So once again, we are awaiting this press conference. Just 1 minute past 8:30 a.m. Eastern time here, so running a tad bit late. What we're going to do is step away for another commercial break, bringing that to you on the other side. Stay with us.
Nope, no commercials here. Oh, shit. What is this? This stuff up the Pope. I just don't care about the Pope. I don't care. What is good old Schwab talking about?
Good morning, Diane. Yeah, so here's the good news. 30-year mortgage dipped from 6.51% down to 6.42% during the past week. So therefore, mortgage apps firming up ever so slightly.
So I found a report here. I don't know how accurate this is. Feel free, please, to fact check this. I'm just reading it to you straight from where I'm getting it, which, Like I said, this is not necessarily a reliable source, but a large number of Israeli soldiers were lured into a trap by Hezbollah and killed. According to reports from the ground, the soldiers were lured into a building in Bint Jabil, B-I-N-T, next word J-B-E-I-L, Bint Jabil. They were lured into the building that was rigged with explosives. The whole building was detonated with no survivors. Israel reported a serious security incident, but has yet to comment on the details. According to reports, blah, 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 yeah. And the people that comment, best news all day. God, there's so many people that are so anti-Israel. Like, these are the same people that are calling Trump a Nazi. Like, hello, do you not understand what? Like, you know, I don't want anybody to die. Unless their, you know, entire life is predicated on killing somebody else, which is what Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas are all about. They're part of the 12er Shia sect of Islam. If you don't know what that is, I made a video breaking it down as to what it is that they believe. In a nutshell, they are following a 1,000-year-old prophecy that says in order to bring on Armageddon, they must destroy Israel. It's just that simple. And it's just that ludicrous. But that is what the Islamic Republic of Iran is all about. If a government had a mission statement, that would be theirs. That's what they do, everything in the name of. That's what they kill the protesters for. That's what they've sent children and the elderly with little plastic golden keys to heaven around their neck when they send them into minefields to clear the way for soldiers. Yeah, don't let social media change or tint or influence your view on what the reality it really is. And the reality is what I just explained. That it's just that simple. Go look it up. The 12er Shias, they had 12 imams, I think it's I-M-A-M, after Muhammad. And those were people that basically continued in his footsteps, right? There were 12 of them after Muhammad. The 12th one gave a prophecy saying that we must destroy Israel, and then he, according to their beliefs, this 12th imam vanished, and it's believed that he went into another time or another dimension, and that he would only come back after the world is in chaos and Israel is destroyed. So that's what fuels these maniacs. That's why they do what they do. That's why they put weapons in schools and in hospitals and fire on Israel from those locations so that when Israel retaliates, they can say, look, they're shooting our schools and shooting our hospitals. They're killing innocent people. Yeah, that's what happens when you shoot from those locations to begin with. And I just don't understand people's unwillingness to dig into the truth. They just want to hate Israel, and that's all that the media is scoped to tell people. It's unreal to me. It's unreal. Now, obviously, this is my American perspective. To be fair, just to be fair, obviously there's probably angles to this that I do not understand as an American. That's to be expected. But the basic outline, which is what I just explained to you, is the truth. And yeah, I don't know who needs to hear it, but it's there. I made two videos on Iran. One of them was basically Iran versus Israel, and this is in the title. And then the other one was the atrocities of Iran. They've killed over 1 million people in the last 47 years. Pushing 40,000 this year alone. All of them protesters or people who don't deserve it, put it that way. And I'd like to think that they could regain control of their country. That Iranian flag that you see, that symbol in the middle that is current, that is a symbol of Islam. The more accurate flag is the same colors, same stripes, but with a lion in the middle. If you see celebrities like Mark Ruffalo's dumbass flying the wrong flag. He's flying the Islamic one, the Islamic Republic of Iran's flag. These people don't know what they're even getting into. They don't even know what they're supporting. They're just against Trump, so, naturally, stand with Iran. Eat up those Lego videos and all the propaganda that they pump into your empty fucking skull. Pardon my French.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do know.
What is this?
DHS and delivering for the American people, Republicans are dragging the Senate through a partisan circus just to avoid basic accountability for ICE and Border Patrol.
What?
So the pattern, unfortunately, with this administration is clearer and clearer. Chaos abroad, the war. Chaos at home, with not funding DHS.
I love how they frame shit.
A failed war overseas, a manufactured crisis here in Washington. In both cases, Republicans aren't leading. They're following orders. Senator Baldwin.
They want Trump gone so bad, man.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. And I'm glad to have the Tammy Caucus here in full force also.
Madam Chair.
Look, I have to be honest. This war is not what I want to be here talking about. Over the recess, I was home in Wisconsin, and I heard from families and workers. I met with police and fire chiefs and small business owners. They have a lot on their plate right now. In some fashion or another, almost every one of them brought up how they are struggling to pay for something they need because of high costs. Fire chiefs need new equipment. Families are figuring out how on earth they're going to be able to afford to rent or buy a home. And small businesses are being hit in every direction with higher input costs.
Dude, I can't
That is what we should be talking about.
I can't even withdraw the money that I've made on YouTube because I'm waiting for them to send me some address verification BS that I've been waiting on for weeks. And yeah, as soon as they send it, it's got a little 6-digit code in it that I need to type in to get my money, which isn't very much. It's only like $140, but still, it's $140 I don't have right now. I am flat ass, but I got a little bag of change, and that's about it. So yeah. Ouch.
More soldiers are wounded. Taxpayers have been left with a bill for tens of billions of dollars. Gas prices have surged, more than $1 per gallon up. And given the mess in the Strait of Hormuz, those prices look like they're only going to get worse. Fertilizer costs are skyrocketing for farmers across the country, including in Wisconsin. And we know it's just a matter of time until...
All right, we are going to pause that coverage here because we do see the Israeli government briefing is now underway.
Good. Cut her ass off.
Firstly, to the historic dialogue which has begun between the State of Israel and Lebanon, a historic door has just opened. The Prime Minister has created this portal. For the first time since 1993, Israel and Lebanon have entered a US-mediated dialogue. We are extremely grateful to President Trump and his administration. Yesterday in Washington, senior representatives from Israel, Lebanon, and the United States sat down together. That alone signals a real shift. The Prime Minister brought this development to the cabinet just last week after a significantly weakened Hezbollah. Israel responded positively to a request from the Lebanese government to move forward. Now, the objective is extremely straightforward.
Oh, hey, just to let you guys know, if you've ever been interested in doing what I'm doing, live streaming, what YouTube pays, it's roughly about 10 cents an hour. That's what they pay while I'm streaming.
Because security, stability, and prosperity cannot coexist with an armed terrorist force dominating a sovereign state. There is no ceasefire discussion with Hezbollah, a terrorist organization that continues to fire indiscriminately at Israeli civilians is not a partner for diplomacy. Indeed, it is the central obstacle to it.
Good.
Now, this is indeed a genuine historic opportunity to end decades of Hezbollah stranglehold over Lebanon, decades in which it has attacked Israel and inflicted immense damage on Israel, but also, especially, on the Lebanese people.
Yep.
It should go without saying, but the Lebanese people are, of course, not Israel's enemy. They're the victims of Hezbollah and the Iranian regime that arms, funds, and directs it. And the vision is simple. Not Hezbollah rockets crossing our borders, but people crossing borders. As our representative, Ambassador Leiter, said just yesterday, the only reason to cross into each other's territory will be either in business suits to conduct business or in bathing suits to go on vacation. And ultimately, liberating Lebanon from an occupational power dominated by Iran called Hezbollah. Now, that future begins with one step that will benefit the entire world, of course, removing Hezbollah's weapons and ending Iran's proxy grip on Lebanon. Just this morning, Hezbollah fired 40 rockets into northern Israel, at homes, villages, at Jews, at Christians, at Druze, at Muslims, all of them here in Israel. Indiscriminate fire at civilians. Now, this fact is almost never or very rarely reported in the international media. Indeed, there have been thousands of rocket and drone attacks on Israel. Hezbollah terrorists chose to enter the campaign and open fire at Israel, and it is paying and will continue to pay a heavy price for doing just that. With each passing day, Hezbollah is more deeply damaged, and if we've learned one thing from October the 7th, as the Prime Minister said, the October 7th atrocities, from these atrocities, Israel will not allow a genocidal terrorist organization anywhere near our border. For that reason, we are implementing that lesson right now as we speak. Now, since February this year, I can share with you that Israel has eliminated over 1,600 Hezbollah terrorists. The IDF is pursuing Hezbollah, targeting their commanders, their operatives, their headquarters, their weapons depots, their launchers, and their terror infrastructure, including towers in Dehya. And the IDF have shared details that in the last 24 hours of operations, they have provided further defense for our northern communities, targeting terrorist headquarters and weapons, as I've said, including anti-tank positions. So that's the end of our briefing here today. I will now take your questions. Please put your questions in the chat, and I will take your questions. I can see one question here, firstly from Reuters, and that what was agreed in the Tuesday meeting with Lebanon? And so it's from Alexander Cornwell at Reuters. What is agreed in the Tuesday meeting with Lebanon, and when will the next meeting take place, and who will represent Israel in that meeting? Thank you very much for that question, Alexander. As you rightly said, that meeting took place yesterday. Israel and our ambassador Leiter made clear what the outcomes have been. He released a statement and spoke to the media. I would refer you to that. The next discussions will take place. They will be, of course, brokered by the State Department and Marco Rubio. We do again show our thanks to President Trump and his administration for brokering these discussions. And when we have more information about their location and who will represent Israel, we will share that with you at the right time. But right now I haven't got anything further to share with you on these discussions, which are being led very ably by our US ambassador to the US, Ambassador Yechiel Leiter. Okay, next question here is from BBC News. Do you have any timeline when there might be another meeting with Lebanon, and will that also be at ambassadorial level? Thank you for that question from the BBC. I think I answered it in the last answer. When we have further details for the next phase of the discussions, we will certainly share that. But as I mentioned to you, they are our our representative, Ambassador Yechiel Leiter, is leading those discussions on behalf of the State of Israel, and he gave further details and when he came out of those discussions just yesterday. And another question here, also from the BBC. Separately, would you be in favour of extending the current US ceasefire beyond the 22nd of April? Look, on the ceasefire, the Prime Minister made clear our support for the ceasefire. He stated that on Monday. He said very, very clearly that Israel supports President Trump's decision to suspend strikes against Iran for 2 weeks, and, of course, for the efforts to ensure that Iran no longer possesses nuclear ability to fire a nuclear bomb at us, to create nuclear weapons, but also their missile and their terrorist capability, which is, of course, a threat to this country, but it is, of course, a threat to the civilized world as well, the United States, Israel, and all of the countries of this region. I would simply ask you to imagine what Iran with a nuclear capability would do, having seen what it has done over the past, since February the 28th, having seen the havoc which they have imposed.
The world is telling more stories than ever before, but standing out no longer takes cameras, studios, or teams. Now, the barriers to entry are gone. Your ideas flow directly into videos. Your voice travels further, faster, and with more impact than ever before. You can create and publish any idea in seconds. From finding topics that matter, to a simple prompt, to creating quality videos and publishing instantly to all of your social media, the process has been reimagined. Tell any story, convert any viewer, free up more of your time for what truly matters in life. What makes all of this possible? Syllabi.io, the only platform that lets you find trending ideas, create videos, and schedule to your social media pages in minutes.
Market open 9:30 a.m. It's 8:50 a.m.
In order to reach that disarmament, if the previous approach failed. Thank you very much for that question. Look, you're right. In 2024, in November 2024, there was a ceasefire agreement. There was a commitment by the Lebanese government to disarm Hezbollah, whether through an absence of will or an absence of ability. That did not take place. But yesterday, I think something very important happened. And Ambassador Leiter said on behalf of Israel that the State of Israel and the government of Lebanon are on the same side now. And on the other side are Hezbollah. Now, again, I won't be taking forward our strategy. I won't be discussing the aspects of our strategy. But the disarmament of Hezbollah is absolutely key to peace in our region. They are hated by 70% of the Lebanese population. That was made clear by the Lebanese government yesterday. They are not they're not defending Lebanon in any way, shape or form. They are the forward army of the Iranian regime, which in turn are also hated by more than 80% of their population, of the Iranian population. So this is a terrorist organization. I think international media would do well to label them precisely what they are. That's what terrorists do. They fire indiscriminately at civilians. That is the definition of terrorism. So I won't be sharing with you the details of what will happen next, but I think that what has changed is that Lebanon and Israel are on the same side of the equation. The other side of the equation is a terrorist army which is which has been severely weakened by Israel. And it just takes forward President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu's idea that the way to achieve peace is through strength. The reason why we have got to these historic discussions is because Iran has been weakened, because Hezbollah have been weakened. Okay, that is the last question we've got here today. So Thank you for joining us. Shosh will be back for the next briefing, and we'll let you know when that is going to be. In the meantime, we are available for your questions as well as for interview requests as well. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Please do stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's the latest update there from Israeli spokesperson David Mencer, and he did just say there is going to be more briefings a little bit later on. Unclear right now when exactly that's going to be. As you're taking a live look there in
moving in today, as we got that level 2 threat stretching from North Texas all the way into portions of Pennsylvania.
There's your weather.
We'll really start to see that flare up once again as we get that daytime heating with those storms developing.
All right. Thank you so much, Julia Fife.
All right, well, stay tuned. First Edition, we'll be right back with more.
No, we won't. No, we won't, baby. I'm going to go over here to this propaganda network and see what they're talking about, eh? That's always fun.
Against China. And this conflict in the Middle East doesn't appear to be ending, given the fact that
you think
that Trump has now started a blockade of Iran. And as for energy, Trump's Iran conflict has administered a major shock to India, Japan, and South Korea. Along with China, these economies are the top importers of Gulf energy. But here is the difference. While China has accelerated its pivot toward overland pipelines from Russia and Central Asia, India, Japan, and South Korea remain structurally exposed. None of them can import energy via overland pipelines. In other words, India, Japan, and South Korea have no viable alternative to vulnerable sea lanes. And even in terms of Trump's imposition of a blockade on Iran, right? The key question is this: will the U.S. military dare to stop Chinese-flagged tankers? That
So in conclusion, 30 seconds, do you believe, therefore, just like Pakistan has pushed itself into the room in a way, into the negotiating table, that China is playing a more proactive role now, India will also have to play some role in the coming weeks? A quick answer.
Well, first, Pakistan played whatever role it played because Washington leaned on Islamabad to host the U.S.-Iran talks, the highest level talks between U.S. and Iran in half a century. China is playing both sides in this conflict.
They're doing what they've got to do.
India's position has always been more principled. And India...
Shut up. I've heard a lie in there, and you can go yourself. What did they say? The U.S. pressured Islamabad? What? What? Correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I'm not understanding what he meant, but didn't Pakistan negotiate or set this up? Didn't Pakistan pressure everybody to come to the table? Maybe I missed what he was saying, but yeah, that struck me as a bit of BS. Oh, yeah, baby. How's everybody doing this morning? Anybody want to comment on anything? Feel free.
Certainly not
here to accept
the objective
your
of this
chat.
Fed to damage this economy, to get inflation down to 2%. We've certainly not seen that with Chairman Powell. Programming note for you, coming up a little bit later this morning, 10:45 Eastern Time. Bramo catching up with Ted Picker, Morgan Stanley. Looking.
All right. Everybody wants to go on commercial. We are looking like a mixed bag for pre-market. We're about a little more than 30 minutes away from the opening bell. Bitcoin's looking like it wanting to come back up. If we take a little bit more into consideration here, let's back it up just a little bit and let's take a look at the long term here, right? Can't even see it with all those signals. But it looks like we're just doing some heavy consolidation. All of this right here. My cousin loves to send me lots of charts with his Fibonacci predictions. And yeah, if you look at Fibonacci and place it onto this, obviously it's been following this trend line. We are due for a massive jump. You see where this line is? Like if you were to draw a line here at the top, at the trend, I mean, yeah, it's up there in the hundreds of thousands. So when that'll happen, who knows? Each one of these candles is 1 month. So, yeah. It's probably going to be a couple of years before it gets up there. But boy, when it does, there's going to be a lot of happy people. I've got some Bitcoin holdings of a few $1,000s, but it's locked up. And in my crypto account, when they tried to rob me of a bunch of fees, I stuck them for about $5,000. So if I were to cash all my stuff out right now, I'd end up with maybe $100. So I've got it locked up in staking pools. I can't even touch it if I wanted to. But I got it locked up. Hopefully I can wait them out and pay off that $5,000 that they're just not going to come off of. And yeah, if it runs up like it is, then I'll be sitting pretty. But until then,
my friendship with him. He continued to say our family's friendship together with him clouded my judgment, and I was wrong. I deeply, deeply regret that. So once again, that was from Senator Ruben Gallego. But this on your screen here, this is a statement from Eric Swalwell that we were getting in as well. Now, this is a sharp pivot for Gallego, given that the two were very close, as I just said there. Their kids went to baseball camp together. But we did hear from him just yesterday as he was speaking to reporters, and I wanted to just play out a little bit of his comments here for you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I call this today because there's just a lot of rumors going around about me, about my family. And, you know, unfortunately, this is not the first time. I had to deal with the same BS in 2024 and 2023 when they ran millions and millions of dollars of smears against me, lied about my family.
Well, that's what they do.
And it's the same damn people again. Carrie Lake, Chris LaCivita, bunch of political operatives. They couldn't do in 2024, they're trying to do again in 2026. So I want to make a couple of things very clear. Number one, Eric Swalwell lied to all of us. He lied to the most powerful people in this country. And they trusted him. They trusted him with some of the most sensitive spots in our government, whether it was on Judiciary Committee, Intel Committee, impeaching Donald Trump. And that clouded my judgment. My friendship with him, our family's friendship together with him, clouded my judgment. And I was wrong. I deeply, deeply regret that. The women that came forward are courageous, and they still deserve justice. But to be clear again, I also had no knowledge of predatory behavior, sexual assault, or harassment. And unfortunately right now, the same people that are in 2024 are using this horrible situation, that's been thrown upon these women, thrown upon Eric Swalwell's family, and using this as an excuse to politically attack me, lie about me, and lie about my family. And I will not take that lightly. So with that, I'll gladly take any questions, because we're here, and I'm not going to let the same thing break out. We're not going to rush out, so don't worry.
Congressman, thank you so much. Swalwell have called you his best friend. You have never asked him about any of the rumors that have been swirling around Democratic politics of his inappropriate behavior?
I think there's a video going around of him being a cuck, watching Eric Swalwell bang somebody. I'm pretty sure that's what the video was. I could be wrong, and it was on social media, and AI can make anything happen, so I don't know how accurate it is. I'm going to see if I can find it.
But when there was rumors going around a couple weeks ago, not of the
because it was funny.
San Francisco Chronicle, I did ask him, and he lied to me. He knew that I just came off a very, very hard campaign for 2 years, where they lied about me and my family for 2 years. He manipulated me to have the same sentiment that I was having back in the day, and used as an opportunity to move me to defend it.
How did you not know about the allegations, though, considering you chaired his presidential campaign? Wouldn't some of this have come up? Some of those allegations predated when he ran for office.
Again, this man led a double life. He lied to us. He lied to his family, lied to his constituents. Some of the most powerful people in this country. You know, even before he ran, he was trusted with some positions that normally we would never think someone like this could do if they're leading that double life. And again, I was manipulated, I was lied to, and everyone else was too.
Senator, would you release any text messages you had with Eric Swalwell to
prove your innocence here?
Anybody that asks, or any legal, proceedings that need it will get whatever they want, without a doubt.
You'll release all your documents.
Yeah, any legal proceedings, the ethics interviews, or if there's a subpoenas or anything else like that, legal proceedings, anything else. If you get sued, we'll release everything without.
I just want to understand when you called him in light of these allegations coming forward, and then when they did grow more serious into sexual assault.
Yes.
Did you call him again and ask your friend, did you lie to me?
No, I called him the day, a few minutes after I read that article, and I told him drop out.
Which article?
The San Francisco Chronicle article. Drop out.
And you didn't speak to him then when CNN put out reporting that was much more serious?
I don't remember the timeline, but as soon as I read about the San Francisco Chronicle article, like a minute afterwards, after I got off stage, I called him and said it's time to drop out.
And what did he say? What did he say?
Is this true? Is this not true?
I told him to drop out. He denied everything. I told him you have to drop out. We'll start taking back too.
Senator, there was a video online that surfaced of Eric Swalwell making out with a woman sitting next to someone.
That might be it.
Sitting next to
Yeah,
him?
that's the video he's talking about.
Example of the lies. No, I was not sitting next to him. I was not in the room. I was nowhere. I don't even know where it happened. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Chris LaCivita and a bunch of other right-wing political operatives are pushing this narrative that somehow I was in that room with Eric Swalwell, and that is an absolute lie.
Congressman, you have future political ambitions. How can
He's talking about the
people
video
trust
I
you
was
to
just
run
talking
for higher
about.
office
I
if you
can't
didn't
find
know
it,
that your
though.
best friend was engaging in even inappropriate behavior?
Look, I messed up. I'm human. I trusted this man. I trusted him to watch my children. I would watch his children. He knew that I had just gone through the most bruising campaign, where I was accused of being a mule for the cartel, where my kids were subjected to TV commercials about what an awful human being I was. And he knew how to prey on that. And I was a loyal friend to someone that just was not loyal to me.
And so have you spoken to the congressman since he announced his resignation?
Since I told him
and have
no.
you conveyed your feelings towards him?
Since I told him to drop out, I have not spoken to him, and I'm not
And then just to be
be
clear in your statement, because yesterday in your statement you said that the women who have come forward deserve to be believed. Do you believe them, or do you believe Eric Swalwell when he says these allegations are false?
Oh, I believe the women 100%, and they deserve justice.
What is it that you believe about the women? Because you said you never saw these allegations.
No, I had no knowledge.
You had no knowledge of it.
Yeah.
So did you ever? What about any sort of position that he may have put himself in? Any compromising position? Was he drinking excessively? Was he around younger women?
Yeah.
Did you see any of that?
I didn't see that, but look, we all heard rumors in Washington, D.C. about Eric Swalwell for many years. And my family, again, was with him all the time, with his wife, with his kids. And we saw a different side of Eric that I never saw. And when I asked him about some of these rumors that were starting on the internet, a few weeks back, he also denied it and said the same thing, like the same thing they tried to do to you is in 2024 is what they're trying to do.
Congressman, you just said
Do you understand why people?
I know, take somebody there.
Do you understand why people might be incredulous about that, given the fact that you guys were roommates for a time?
We're never roommates. That's a lie.
You chaired his presidential. You were close to him. You were best friends. Do you understand why people just might have questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why we're having this press conference right now.
It's not going to go well for you, bud.
Senator, are you worried? Are you having to explain to donors and to candidates that you have endorsed the stuff that you're explaining to us now? And are you worried that you could be a political liability for people who in 2026?
Look, at this point, all I care about is, number one, stopping the lies that are happening about me and about my family. Everyone else can make their political calculations. Fact is, this has been awful.
Yeah,
do you think you'll ever retire, and how old do you think you'll?
I can't find the video I was thinking of, but yeah, it was pretty funny. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I don't know if it was the edge of the bed, but he was sitting there watching Eric Swalwell with a hooker, supposedly. He was just sitting there being a good cuck. That's what it looked like. But it was hard to tell if it was really him.
Your kids, hanging out with his kids, you have your families are friends. You just don't believe it.
But what were the rumors that you heard? What were the rumors?
It was flirty. That was flirty.
And that was when? About what year?
I mean, that was we've heard that throughout.
But Senator, you just said thank you so much. I want to clarify because in the beginning
we'll go back there.
In the beginning you said when you first heard these rumors a few weeks ago, that's when you called him. Then you said you've heard these rumors for years. So which one is it, Senator?
So I heard rumors of him being flirty.
And that wasn't an issue enough for you to not trust him to watch your kids or be close with him?
Because, you hear this, and then when you're close to somebody and you know his wife, you see this. You see that relationship. You know that, it maybe just isn't true.
Have you asked him about it prior to the few weeks?
I asked him about it a few weeks ago when it started coming up online.
Why would you ask him about it if you're running his...
All right, Senator Ruben Gallegos speaking on former Representative Eric Swalwell as he resigned from Congress just yesterday. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom also issuing a proclamation yesterday setting August 18th as the date for a special election to fill the congressional seat that was vacated by Swalwell. And members from both sides of the political aisle had called for him to resign or else face expulsion due to accusations against him of sexual misconduct and rape. Here's that post again. Just a brief statement here that I want to read, saying that Swalwell denies each and every allegation of sexual misconduct and assault that has been leveled against him. These accusations are false, fabricated, and deeply offensive. A calculated and transparent political hit job designed to destroy the reputation of a man who has spent 20 years in public service. Just skipping down to the end here, it says, we are confident that the truth will prevail and we will pursue every available legal remedy against those responsible for orchestrating this reprehensible campaign of lies. We're going to step away for a commercial break here on Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christy Matino. Stay with us. We're back after this.
Okay, what is Bloomberg saying? We are 20 minutes away from the opening bell. And we're still looking at a mixed bag. Bitcoin is running sideways a little bit. Same with oil. There's Brent. It's coming down overall, but still running sideways. And the dollar following suit. Silver looking like it's trying to make a pump up. The crypto space, by and large, is looking very flat. And yeah, we've got actually more flat than anything in the stock market today for pre-market. Let's see what Bloomberg says.
Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and the Red Sea. But Matt and Danny, we got this statement overnight from CENTCOM confirming that they have stopped all commercial traffic when it comes to those waterways. A senior U.S. official has outlined to Bloomberg News that they are dispersing vessels in the Gulf of Oman instead of directly near the Strait of Hormuz in a bid to give the U.S. some more flexibility.
Yeah, it's interesting because President Trump just last night told ABC News he did not see any reason to extend the ceasefire. So we're getting conflicting messages here from the president and AP, but that's not really a surprise. Tyler Kendall, thanks very much reporting out of Washington. Quick check on what's going on in markets. We're looking at S&P futures and NASDAQ futures that are really little changed, but we closed again yesterday on the cash trade at 69.67, so 1 point away from an all-time closing high on stocks and much higher than we were, or let's just say higher than we were on February 27th before we invaded Iran together with Israel. Let's get a look at some of the other movers on our radar this morning. Quantum stocks are surging after NVIDIA unveiled AI models meant for quantum computing. So these tiny meme stocks are running
little
hot.
Stocks. I feel like every day there's an IPO of some quantum stocks. So
I feel like Dan Curtis, our London producer, is obsessed with quantum stocks.
Is that why we're talking about them right now?
Well, no.
They're rallying.
Yeah, they're up.
Unfortunately, this is the one I have to discuss. American Eagle, they're climbing after announcing a new campaign with
Why be a hater?
No, I don't know. I don't know why I'm a hater. To be fair, it's worked out very well for American Eagle, so good for them. This time it's to promote jean shorts. It's called Sit for Short, and clearly it's very successful for them.
Some people wear jorts.
I wear jorts. I am not.
I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't care. What's this over here? Who are these jerks talking?
Do clean
continuing resolutions that would fund those agencies, and those were also blocked by the Democrats. So the Democrats can't seem to take yes for an answer on anything, and for all what they have done here, for all intents and purposes, is shut down the appropriations process. So the Republicans have been forced to do this the hard way, but we did, thankfully, because of the work that we did last summer, have been able to ensure that people at those agencies in that department are being paid. And thankfully for that, and then coupled with that, the intention that we now have to come in behind that and pass a reconciliation bill that would enable those agencies to continue to be funded 3 years into the future. So I'm trying to figure out exactly, as I think about it, what the Democrats got out of all this funded. All of the things that the Democrats made this about, which was supposed to be about reforms to the way that ICE and CBP operate, they got none of that. Zero. And now we're going to fund those agencies for 3 years into the future. The only thing the Democrats got out of this was they now own the issue. Senator Graham is preparing. We will have on the floor, hopefully as early as next week. We'll provide multiple years of funding for these agencies, and a reconciliation bill, which will follow shortly after, will ensure that that job gets done. So that's where we are in the process, but we're going to move quickly, decisively, and hopefully in a very focused way on ensuring that those important law enforcement agencies, contrary to the Democrats' defund law enforcement efforts, are funded not only today but well into the future.
Mr. Leader, on Iran, Leader, President Trump has repeatedly threatened civilian infrastructure. Last week he said that if his demands weren't met, an entire civilization would die. Are those kinds of threats from the president something you're comfortable with?
I think what you got to, again, look at what the president is doing. And I think right now he's trying to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which I think we are all supportive of, and the efforts that are being made there to further isolate the Iranian regime and their economy, which is an energy-dependent economy, hopefully will have the desired effect, and we'll get the strait open again, and that's sort of their last resort. I mean, the military effort here has been extraordinarily successful. This is the sort of the last dying gasp of this regime, is to try and shut down the strait, and the administration is making an effort to ensure that it's open, that there can be traffic in and out of there, and hopefully that'll be successful, and we can begin to see this thing wind down.
Mr. Leader, I know that your challenge is to try to keep this reconciliation bill as narrow as possible. Are you and the Speaker on the same page as to what will be in this bill?
We have spoken regularly, and the White House has been involved in all these conversations. So, you know, I don't speak for the House or how they do things. We have our own unique challenges here in the Senate. But as we initiate this process, the budget resolution followed up with a reconciliation bill, and what it will include are all elements that I think that, as we have talked with the Speaker and folks in the House of Representatives, they understand where we're going.
You worried they're going to ask for other things, though?
Well, they could. I mean, we have members who want other things. I mean, I want other things. But obviously, we have a specific mission and purpose here, and that is to ensure that these important agencies of our government that have vital functions when it comes to our homeland and national security are funded. That is a narrow and specific purpose, and my hope would be that if we can execute on getting that done here in the Senate, the House will be able to follow through.
Can I ask you on the issue of funding the government, though? It has been weeks since the Senate passed their bill to keep DHS funded. It is still sitting in the House. How long are they going to be sitting on that package before DHS is finally funded?
Well, again, and this, remember, this all happened because Democrats would not vote to fund any of these law enforcement agencies. But I'm hopeful that if we can show evidence and progress, and if we can get on this next week, which I think we can, on a budget resolution that would ensure that we are going to fund these agencies, that the House will be able to move the appropriations package. Right now, as you know, all these agencies are being funded because of action that the President took, but that's not something that's sustainable over the long term. These agencies need to be funded, and we want to make sure that the agencies that are not going to be handled through reconciliation, ICE and CBP, also have funding funding for the rest of the fiscal year.
Do you have the intention to vote on AUMF regarding Iran if this conflict goes beyond 90 days, or are you open to voting for an AUMF if that conflict goes beyond 90 days?
I think at this point, most of us, I believe, feel pretty good about what the military, the American military, has achieved there in terms of its objectives. And, you know, that's something, obviously, it's a hypothetical down the road. But I think by and large, if you look at the, and we're going to have an opportunity to vote on some war powers resolutions that the Democrats are going to try and trigger. But I think the administration has a clear objective, a clear plan. And if they can execute on it, hopefully that question won't be a necessary one that we'll have to answer.
Senator, there have been 2 House members that have been forced to resign as a result of sexual assault allegations. Do you believe that there is a culture on Capitol Hill where those who feel that they've been victimized can report those actions and seek accountability? And if not, should more be done to allow that for those potential victims?
I think we're always, there are better ways of ensuring that people in vulnerable situations, like some of them, I'm not familiar with all the particulars and the details, but what happened in the House, ought to have access to a way in which they can get recourse and relief, for sure. And if there's a better way to do that,
it's such an empty statement,
I'm certainly
though.
open to it. I think it's unfortunate what we've observed and seen here in the last few days about certain members of the House of Representatives. And I guess I can tell you that I think we would all attest to the fact that I don't think that's a reflection of these institutions generally, and certainly not something that we would abide here in the United States Senate.
Sure.
All right, so that's Majority Leader John Thune there as he was taking questions from reporters on different topics. A lot there on Iran, though. Sharing this here with you if you are just tuning in to Live Now from Fox. President Trump sharing this morning to Truth Social, reposted by the White House, as he's saying, China is very happy that I am permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. I'm doing it for them also and the world. This situation will never happen again. They've agreed not to send weapons to Iran. President Xi will give me a big fat hug when I get there in a few weeks.
Where did this come from?
They're working together smartly and very well. Doesn't that beat fighting? But remember, we are very good at fighting. If we have to, far better than anyone else. So once again, that is the latest there from President Trump. But as a reminder here, we do have the White House press briefing at 1 p.m. Eastern time with Caroline Levitt. But the latest here this morning is that President Trump sharing to Truth Social that China has agreed not to provide weapons to Iran, and that comes as reports circulate that Beijing has considered transferring arms. Now, I also want to share this here with you. This just popped into our newsroom. This is going to be a press conference here in just a short amount of time. You're going to be hearing from House Speaker Mike Johnson and GOP leaders as they are speaking on Tax Day. So that's slated for 10 a.m. Eastern time. And according to our partners at Fox News, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, House Democrat leadership will be holding a press conference as well. All right, stepping away for a commercial break on Live Now from Fox. Stay with us. We're back after this.
Nope. I'm going to go over to... Oh, we haven't looked at Newsmax in a while. They're talking about the same thing. Let's go over to India's news, see what kind of propaganda they're pumping into the skulls of the empty-minded.
The key question is this. Will the U.S. military dare to stop Chinese-flagged tankers? That could...
So in conclusion, 30 seconds, do you believe, therefore, just like Pakistan has pushed itself into the room in a way, into the negotiating table,
into the room,
that China is playing a more proactive role now, India will also have to play some role in the coming weeks? A quick answer.
Well, first, Pakistan played whatever role is to now activate its...
Of the Russian foreign minister now in Beijing, is China playing a big role behind the scenes to persuade Tehran in particular to agree to some kind of a negotiated settlement?
Sorry about the
I don't think...
Sorry about the technical difficulties. These guys are just looping the same thing over and over again. I saw it loop just a second ago. So we are going to go over to Schwab, I think.
I'm Marley Caden,
Well,
live.
everybody's on commercial at the same time, aren't they? We are 6 minutes away from the opening bell. So I'm going to keep Bloomberg and Schwab up while we wait on the bell. Looks like Bitcoin is still moving sideways, more or less. Can't really make much money off of these plays. When it's moving these small amounts, you can't really make too much money on it. In fact, it's more risky. The sideways shit. It's very risky. Let's see what Bloomberg is saying. Sorry, I'm not my normal self, man. I'm not having a good time. See what Bloomberg's saying.
The 2026 summit. Joining us now is North Star Asset Management Chief Investment Officer Nimra Kang.
5
Nimra,
minutes
great
away.
to see you. And is this a treacherous moment for the global economy? And if so, why are stocks less than 0.2% away from all-time highs?
Danny, it does feel like a treacherous moment, but we've been here so many times before. But this is a market that just wants to keep going up. You know, we've been conditioned over the last 18 years to buy the dip, and that's what the market is really responding to. But you're right. I mean, under the hood, there's a lot of violent rotation going on. It again points to we just want this market. This is a market that wants to keep going up, but not really sure how. So we keep bouncing from a sector to sector, hoping that something's going to actually work out.
So what
keep
has
hoping.
been working out? What does the rotation look like to you throughout this 6 weeks of war?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, just take an example of consumer staples. You know, earlier, first 2 months of the year, we had a big defensive rotation. Also, small cap value, those were the sectors outperforming. Then we go into the war, everything sells off pretty much evenly, stagflation.
We'll run over to Schwab. They've got a countdown going for
War
opening
losses
bell.
as well. Getting back now to the pre-war levels today. Singapore and Taiwan had already managed to recoup the losses. Australia and Japan not far away. Europe is not far off from recovering losses either. In fact, the stock 600 is just 2% away from recouping those losses, and that would also be an all-time high. So we are seeing very much internationally markets regaining some of the strength right now. There is a view, though, out there, I would point out, Nicole, that we may pause and sort of drift sideways in the short term. And that is because some of the traders have been pointing out to me that maybe things are looking a little bit stretched at this point. I know that a lot of the conversation in recent days has been around, obviously, a lack of positioning in this market. If you take a look at the semi-SOX index, up, 30% from March 30th low in just 10 trading days, Nicole. But if you take a look at the RSI on the 7-day, for instance, 85, so very overbought. And so these are some of the things that traders have been pointing out as to why we might drift sideways for now. But yes, I mean, you continue to see these headlines about the fact that, according to reports, we're talking about perhaps more negotiations, the US and Iran potentially coming to the table once again. And so it feels like the US markets are very much holding on to that optimism that things are getting better and not worse.
And that has been the rhetoric from the Washington, administration, from Trump himself. He said, look, we were trying to do this quickly. We want to get out. And so we'll see whether or not he can actually have that execution at this moment. How about we take a look at Uber, which is spending on autonomous vehicles?
Yeah, $10 billion, according to the Financial Times this morning. This is the report coming through, Nicole. So it's going to be spending quite a hefty amount on thousands of autonomous vehicles.
Less than 2 minutes away.
Developers. So I believe it's 2.5 set aside for that, and then the rest on these autonomous vehicles. So the point of this article really points out that it's basically a shift away from the asset-light model now and the gig economy. And the aim is really to avoid disruption coming from the robo-taxis. We know that this is something that obviously Uber has been sort of trying to position itself in, the robo-taxi space. I mean, it's been investing heavily as well. Plans to launch services in 28 global cities by 2028. I mean, obviously it's been partnering up with other companies like Baidu, Rivian and Lucid as well. So the FT very much points to more money that's going to be spent on this sort of more heavy asset type of business model. But speaking speaking of investments, Nicole, the other story that's floating around Uber today is out of the information because it seems like software development is becoming a very costly reality for these tech companies. Uber's CTO, so the executive at the helm of the technology, has reportedly said now that the company's AI spending is effectively blowing out the budget right now. So according to the information, the CTO is saying that the company's surging use of AI coding.
Keep in mind, their counter is going to be about 7 seconds off from me, and my delay is going to be about 7 or 8 seconds off from you. So when this says 15 seconds, that's when the bell actually opens for you, give or take.
This stuff.
And we had today yet another story with Broadcom and Meta.
Right.
Every single day, there's more spending on AI, more gigawatts, more everything. To your point, thank you. Sam Bonas, and we'll check out those banks after the earnings. The opening bell rings right now.
And we're off. Woo! Look at that. Uber jump. Look at that. Wow, look at Uber go. Look at Uber making a run.
And here we go. The S&P 500 is at 69.79. The all-time high is 7,002. So you can watch for that level. Right now, the S&P is up about 12 points. That's up about 0.2%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 168 points at 48,689. The tech-heavy Nasdaq up 21 points at 25,863. The small caps, the Russell, which has had a great run, is at 2707, gaining fractionally this morning. Oil and gold are both lower. I say oil is lower. I mean, I almost feel like in a moment we're going to get to an 8 handle. It's at.
Okay, so Nvidia is doing its thing. This is still climbing slowly but surely. Google reaching up there pretty good. Let's space this out a little bit more. Maintaining its stranglehold. Amazon looks like it's coming down a tiny bit. Still doing well overall. Micron Technologies. I was looking at this one. This one's had a hell of a run in the last few days. Look at this. I mean, this is just fantastic, isn't it? This is the last couple of days. Each candle's 5 minutes. It's the last couple of days. That if you had any Micron, congratulations. Same to you if you're into Uber. You probably make a good play on this right here. Brent oil coming down. Silver trying to make a run up. Gold's in the same situation. Why does this keep saying this? I paid for a year. Trump just said he's opening the strait? Really?
Box.
Yes.
I think
so. Blockade.
Right.
Still with us is North Star Asset Management Chief Investment Officer Nimrit Kang. Nimrit, the AI, I mean, the story with Allbirds is pretty hilarious, but the AI story just has legs. I mean, every day we have multi-billion-dollar deal headlines. By the way, today is Deals Day. It's Wednesday, so Danny's show kicks off at noon. Do you continue to invest in this? Because a lot of these companies have really lost some steam. I mean, Microsoft is still down like a fifth year to date.
Yeah. I think the AI story is two different parts, right? So the market is pricing in the semiconductor stocks. That's where still the momentum is. That's where the price action has been. And the market is pricing those on the near-term cash flows. We have a pretty strong security that these companies are going to see revenue, profits, earnings, cash flows. Great. And that's what we're seeing on one side. The other side we are seeing is the, taking out of the companies on the software as a service spectrum, the SaaS eclipse that we've been talking about. And that's you have companies like Microsoft, but also CRM, Intuit, all of those companies lagging significantly because the market is saying we're not going to price their short-term cash flows. We're going to look out further, 20-year horizon, and maybe these companies don't exist in the same way that they do today. So two different bifurcations going on at the same time. We think that, yes, the AI is here, it's real, but now it's time.
I actually just made a couple of AI videos that are on my channel on YouTube. I haven't put them on Rumble quite yet, but they're on my YouTube channel. They're kind of creepy. I just did it for shits and giggles. They're kind of creepy. They look like me, but my eyes aren't right, and my voice is right, but it's conveying mannerisms that just aren't me. I think it's kind of funny. There's 2 of those videos right now, and in fact, I can't put them on Rumble because when I make videos, I put them on YouTube and I download them from YouTube and then I upload them to Rumble, but they won't let me download the AI generated videos. I guess it's their proprietary thing. I don't know.
China's project to destroy America. Gordon Chang. Welcome back to the program, Gordon. Great to see you after a number of weeks. What a morning and what a way to start it. Let's unpack this Truth Social. The president revealing that he went ahead and asked President Xi in a letter not to give Iran weapons. And President Xi apparently responded that China was not supplying Tehran. General, do you believe him? There's many who have suggested that the weapon that took down our F-15 was in fact something that came out of China.
You know,
we can't afford to believe that nonsense.
The complicated relationship between China and the United States right now doesn't need to be more complicated. And so the president is really trying to thread a needle here diplomatically. So you could be outraged and decry that now China's the problem and we could shift our entire focus and we could ratchet up a bunch of dangerous rhetoric. And what the president has chosen is calm. Let's put a blanket on this. We'll pragmatically work this out. You know, China and the United States going at each other militarily is not in anybody's interest. And the Chinese, by and large, and I say by and large because they have helped Iran a little bit, but they have stayed on the sidelines and they could have done something much more deleterious in this operation, which is now wrapping up and the Chinese are going to get their ships through.
Yeah, Gordon, the truth is China had the most at stake in opening the strait. The president referenced that in his Truth Social.
All right, guys, I got to go. I've got things I've got to do, and I don't know how I'm going to do them. But I've got to find a place to live or I'm going to be sleeping in my car. That's probably going to happen anyway because like I don't even have money for fucking cigarettes or gas. I don't have money or gas to go anywhere. So if I get kicked out of where I'm at, which is probably coming in a few days, then I'm probably just going to drive down the street and park while I wait on the IRS. I don't have any other options. I'm disabled. I can't work. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming. Love you guys. Tune in tomorrow. I may or may not be on.